A follower wrote a question that is so understandable. She says, and I paraphrase, Mom is in therapy, but I'm not sure it's doing her any good. In fact, I don't even know how often she goes. And I want to suggest to her maybe to find another therapist. What should I do? How should I address this? Well, I think the first thing to know is that when we're talking about narcissistic, borderline, histrionic, personality disordered moms, for someone to change their personality, it's in-depth, really, really difficult work, and work that most people don't want to do. So let me bring you into the therapy room with Mom. And from the therapist's perspective, the first thing that needs to do is to establish an alliance. So to establish a rapport with Mom, to be maybe not confirming Mom's suspicions or her misguided ideas, but Mom needs to feel like the therapist is at least somewhat on her side. Then the therapist will look for a crack in the door, some way that Mom's upset or the way that she's relating is not working for her. And then over time, and as she builds that alliance, she may be able to challenge Mom's defenses. I hope you can hear how hard this is, how unlikely this is to quote unquote work, how much time, expenses, all kinds of resources, most of all, willingness to be vulnerable on your mom's part. So, in defense of therapists, she could have a good therapist, but your mom is just impenetrable. The walls are just too solid. So what she may be doing is supportive therapy. I don't know. There are all kinds of therapies out there, and a lot of them very superficial in my estimation. So the only thing that's gonna change Mom's personality is in-depth psychodynamic, which means at least once a week, probably twice a week, and we're talking years. So I wouldn't look for anything to change quickly. Now, if there have just been some misunderstandings and people need to air their grievances and Mom gets a little support and she can see things from your perspective, with that support and perspective of another person, a therapist, then differences can be ironed out. But these are two different kettle of fish, whole nother kettle of fish here when we're talking about moms who have been abusive and there's been relational trauma. So what to do? The thing that I would recommend is that you get very, very clear. If you want to be in contact with Mom, you get very, very clear about not really your criteria, but what you want to go differently. Say if Mom insults you or gives you unwanted advice, you could say, Mom, your inability to keep from insulting me or criticizing me is really going to limit the kind of relationship we can have and how much time I'm going to be willing to spend with you. Now you see the confidence in that statement. So it's really up to her. Whether or not she accesses therapy is another thing. What she does with that is kind of her business. It may be overreach, although completely understandable. I get you to think, Mom, you go to therapy. The therapist is going to call you out on your messed upness and fix it. It's just not going to work that way. Plus, it puts you in a bad position of having to wonder and evaluate, how's the therapy going? And there's no way for you to know, not really. But what you can evaluate and decide for yourself is how it's going, what you're seeing from Mom. Not that you're evaluating her, but if you have certain ideas that you don't want her to be abusive, that's perfectly reasonable. So, like I said, if you say, Mom, I'm going to want to spend more time with you if I can tell you, oh, that's private, that's off limits, I don't want to talk about that, and you'll back off. I mean, that's just for example. And then it's up to Mom to figure out how she can get there. So she picks the therapist. she ups the time that she spends in therapy if she's motivated. But I am going to tell you, lots of daughters spend time waiting and waiting for mom to change. And the probability of her changing, she has a personality disorder, is very, very low. So don't wait around. And I hope these tips are helpful.